Today on the Ave Podcast, it's the NBA Finals, man. It's the NBA Finals. I feel like this playoffs has gone by quicker than I realized, actually, even though we're in June right now. But it felt like it should have been a little bit longer. I felt like it went by a little too quick. I think the first round of the playoffs was probably the most memorable part of the playoffs so far, as a whole anyway, if you're comparing rounds. I mean, we haven't gotten to the finals yet, so we'll see how that breaks through. The biggest surprise, obviously, is Minnesota versus Denver. But overall, as much as I was looking forward to the playoffs, the West was an unpredictable parity-type monster, while the East was a war of attrition in the East, and Boston was the healthiest one. Well, actually not even Boston, because Porzingis has been hurt the whole time, but it hasn't mattered because everybody they've played hasn't been healthy. But here we are, the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. We're going to break it literally all down here over the next little bit, so please stay tuned in for that. South Shore Ave is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. Hit them 5 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sank! Let's go. Hit them 5 stars. Hit them 5 stars for me, please. And make sure you check out the catalog at southshoreave.com. Once again, that's southshoreave.com. I'm going to say it one more time for the emphasis at southshoreave.com. Is the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio. Let's go.
Welcome to the Ave Podcast with Cal C on South Shore Ave Radio.
Welcome to the finals preview of the Ave Podcast, where I'm joined by a couple of my guests here. My first one is one of the all-time Canadian college basketball scorers in Canadian history, a recent Hoffa of Durham College. Congratulations to him once again. Make sure we let it be known. And is desperately waiting for the NBA to come back to Seattle so you can start rooting for the Seahawks. Please welcome Anthony Basham to the show. How you doing today?
What's going on?
And my next guest is the head coach of Team XL Hoops Prep Basketball Program, and is the founder and leader, as you can see, of Red Rush Ontario's AAU program. He's also the COO of Team Lightskin, who's seeing how we could trip up somebody behind the scenes for the CEO position. Please welcome Mr. Randall Walter to the show. How you doing today, sir?
I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. We back.
Yes. Light-skinned brothers got to make a comeback for 2024, man.
Make a comeback?
Yo, so right now we're breaking down the NBA Finals matchup right now between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. So my question I'm going to ask the two of you guys right now is, are you guys shocked to see this matchup in the finals right now? It's a 2-part question. Are you shocked to see this matchup in the finals? And also, you guys can answer this first part first.
I'm not shocked. I expected Boston to make it through easily through the East. So that was a gimme. I mean, they're the best team in the East all year. Dallas is, after they made them trades, I think they had a solid foundation already. Probably the best backcourt in the NBA, in my opinion. And then, with all that length and size they added up front, throughout those trades, I thought they just added more depth, and they were just catching their legs by the end of the season. So they were always in the Western Conference contention. And, you look at teams like OKC, I just felt they're just too young. I think they had the talent to go far, but they're just not the experience. And then you look at, obviously Minnie, who caught lightning in the bottle, same thing. I think they have some good pieces. I just think that that wasn't their time. So I think they were the most poised to make that run to the finals. I did think that, I would have seen a little bit more out the Suns. I know they're kind of front heavy and star heavy, but just the fact that they just couldn't get it together shows that, you need more than stars on a squad to make things work. So I'm not shocked. Actually, I think it's I wanted to see NY and Minnie in the final. That would have been fun. That's
That would have been
just
fun.
diff parody, right? Like just
For sure.
You know, especially if NY was healthy and Minnie could have made it through, or OKC. You know, shout out to my man Shea. You know, Shea put on a show this season. I think low key he should have been, or high key he should have been MVP. But yeah, that's my synopsis and how I feel about that.
It's funny because I feel like a lot like you, like Boston is not really a shock based on just what they did in the regular season. I think most people are surprised that Dallas is here, to be honest with you. But I think my biggest shock, honestly, if you know we're gonna like double back and go through the playoffs again, is I mean, I think Minnesota beating Denver, although it wasn't necessarily a huge shock, but it was surprising because I thought Denver would be here now. That was my pick going into the playoffs. I'm like, all the games I watched this year, I'm like, Denver's the best team. They just got to get healthy. Once they're healthy, they're the best team.
Yeah,
and
that's a problem, right?
Yeah, and I think that loss, because I remember, actually, it wasn't that game I watched, but they lost to San Antonio, I think one of the last two games of the regular season, and that might have actually sealed their playoff fate in a weird way because they ended up getting the 2 seed and meeting Minnesota instead of getting the 1 seed, which they probably would have got if they won that game, and then meeting up with Dallas in the second round, which, you know, playoffs is all about matchups, right? Because I think like as much as Minnesota gave Denver problems, I think Denver would have did the same thing to Dallas. Like I think if Denver and Dallas met up, Denver would be in the finals, not the other way around, right? Like, so it's just interesting how that worked out. Like it's all matchups, right? It's all matchups, but I think, like I said, surprisingly, like Minnesota was probably like the biggest one. But like, you know, it's interesting because when you watch them play each other, this series, Dallas and Minnie, was like, I would say probably like halfway through game 2 of that series is when I was like, oh, I think Dallas is going to win this series. Because, and honestly, all it was like, when you looked at the flow of the game, every time Minnesota went on a run, and I wouldn't be necessarily watching the score, I'm like watching the game, but doing stuff here and there. And then I would think like Minnesota's up like 10, 15 points. And every time I looked at the score, every time they went on a run, I looked up, they're like, Dallas is up 5. I mean, Dallas is down 5. You know what I mean? Dallas has scored 2-3 baskets, and I'm like, wait a minute, they're down 2? What just happened? You know, and I realized I'm like, oh man, like when you sat back and watched it, like Dallas is executing on both ends of the floor a lot easier than Minnesota's doing it. So once I started realizing that, I'm like, this is more than a game now. I'm like, you know, I don't know if Minnesota has what it takes right now. Like this is kind of shocking. And then on top of that, Edwards being tired, and don't even get me started on Cat. Don't even get me started on Cat. But like, once that happened, it was like, all right, well, it looks like this is going to be a wrap. I didn't think it was going to be like 5 games though, but I thought for sure that like at that point it was like, okay, I think Dallas is the one that's going to do this. You know, and just to touch on Minnesota for a second, I got to touch on Cat, man. I'm sorry, man. This 10 years has been in the league, man. Like some of the mistakes this guy makes, it's so idiotic, man. I know people have been harping on it, but I'm like, but at this point, I'm like, this is who he is at this point. So it's like you're paying this guy $200 million in total. I'm like, do you trade him? You know what I mean? Like at this stage, because I'm like, this is it. Like this is not gonna get better. Like this is who he is. This is it. Like he's gonna create stupid fouls. He's gonna get stupid charges. You know what I mean? He's gonna take more threes than use his size. You know, he may play defense, but there's going to be more often than not, he's going to give you games where it's like, you're like, why is this guy not using his whole frame? Why is he shooting threes? You know, why is he Karl Anthony Curry?
Well, the other thing too is it's funny because ironically, the guy that everybody would get on was Gobert on that squad, right? And Gobert ended up kind of falling in place and kind of playing the role he needed to play well, especially towards the end of the season in the playoffs, because I always thought Gobert was a goofball. But Cat, yeah, man, I don't know, man. Something in that Jersey water, man. I don't know, man. Jersey moves, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's either Mr. Try to steal your girl or Mr. Try to be a little femme sweet. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Just something in that Jersey water. Shout out to all my Jersey dudes out there, right? So,
You played him this weekend, aren't you?
no. But I just did, right? Something in that Jersey water.
What's your thoughts, Batch?
I mean, in terms of Boston making it, no, I'm not surprised by that. Dallas making it, yes, I'm surprised by that. But for the opportunity, they seized the moment. They did what they had to do. I think I'm more surprised at the fact that it was. I feel like it was more of the Luka show, if anything. Kyrie had his moment in a couple of those games, but I feel like Luka really took over.
Mm-hmm.
So we really haven't seen both of them go off.
Nope.
And that's why I feel with those two coming up against Boston, mind you, I'm kind of split between. I want to see both teams win, but if I had to pick on what team,
Don't pick it yet. Yet.
Okay. I mean, so pretty much. Let me. I'll try to get back real quick. But in terms of what we saw with Dallas, you're right. Like they made those last minute trades they made at the deadline were crucial. That PJ Washington trade, huge. That Daniel Gafford trade, huge. Mind you, I kind of questioned it because I was like, well, you got Derek Lively, so how is this going to work out? How are you going to split the minutes? But Jason Kidd seemed to make it work real well, even with PJ Washington, who can actually play the 5 as well. So it's crazy how he's managed to get all those guys in. Now, mind you, some people have also lost some minutes. I mean, you had the injury with Carver, but I think maybe that just happened at the right time. But now you got him coming back healthy. You have somebody that stretched the floor. So
what size?
Yeah, right. So it's like, man, I think we're just so used to Dallas being Dallas and used to the players that they have, such as Luka and Kyrie, known to not really play defense. We kind of just let that whole narrative kind of take over and not really see that, I think with the energy that Lively and Gafford bring on the floor, even with Washington as well, it kind of translated over to Luka in a sense, more so Kyrie. I think Kyrie kind of showing a different side in terms of being more of a defender. I mean, he's still an offensive guy, but I think he picked it up a little bit to where now it's like, okay, you know what? They became a problem. I think Minnesota though, after that first game, Ant kind of spoke a little too soon with him trying to want to guard Kyrie. I think he put himself on the.
But did you think that was really trash talking though?
No. Ant's a hooper, man. I think that was him just being a hooper. He's like, yo, listen, I'm about to guard him, and I'm gonna put the cuffs on the same way I put the cuffs on Jamal. He was right on the high right there, but he got humble.
He did say that, right? Because I thought he was just more on the lines of like, this is my matchup, so we're gonna see what happens. I didn't know he went that far.
But he's a competitor. I mean, from what I'm saying. Yeah, he was competitive. I didn't see that he was trying to be disrespectful with it. I think it was just, you know what, hey, I'm ready for the next one, and I'm gonna go at it the way it is. But I think at the same time, they should have rethought the strategy. You can't have him on Kyrie the whole game. That man gonna be burnt out. I don't know one player other than there's not really a lot of players, especially superstars, right? Superstars that cover another superstar. For 48 minutes, 41 minutes, I think he was playing, averaged out. That's insane. And still be able to carry the load offensively. They should have mixed that up. And then Nikhil
waited too long to do that. Yeah.
Right. Nikhil lost a lot of he didn't really play as much either. He's another defender. I think they went ahead and they gave a lot of the burn to Reed, who definitely took advantage of that. But I feel like it should have been still kind of, use Nikhil and Alexander to help out with the defensive side to give each other, like each player breaks. Like McDaniels, man, great defender. But listen, man, Luka's a problem. Kyrie's a problem. You know what I'm saying? And those two, and it's crazy because those two actually gave up the ball. We're always so used to seeing Luka holding the ball every single possession, high usage guy. And he managed to say, you know what, listen, take your breaks. Here, take this. I don't know if it's because of the injury that he had that no one's really talking about too tough. But he was able to say, listen, all right, I'm going to get this ball up. You guys take over. And let's go from there. So it'll be shocking to see what happens in the finals now because he's going to see I'm sure he's going to be seeing Giroux. So we'll see how that goes.
And in hindsight now, like now that the matchup is here, are you guys like It's just a matchup that you probably, now looking back, is this the matchup that you want to see now the most? Or is there the team that you would rather see still?
I mean, I like parity, man. I was I didn't really want to see Denver make it back. I was happy for them last year, but I'm happy to see a new squad in there, right? I don't like seeing back-to-back champs unless it's like really something where the team has evolved, like kind of like Golden State when they got KD. You're kind of like, I want to see this team lose, right? But you know what I mean? I don't feel that way with Denver. Just give them a break. Next year they'll be back at it. But I agree with Batch. I don't know. I don't have a dog in the fight. I mean, see, you already know what it is in the household. My son is a hefty Celtics fan. I don't know how, but he's just a huge Celtics fan. So we see, you heard it. We've been hearing it. Right?
So much so he didn't even celebrate when the Raptors won.
Oh wow! Pissed. I'm not a Raptors fan.
He's a Toronto kid. That's crazy.
Hey, listen, man. He knows what he likes. Hey, I shout out to him, man. He's riding with his team.
He's riding with his team.
I respect it.
I gotta hear it.
I'm a Niners guy, so you know I believe in it.
Man, let's leave that alone, please. Leave that alone, please, man.
I don't know if he's a Niners fan or he's just a San Fran fan. I don't know. Just San Fran, the city. You know what I mean? I think he just likes San Fran.
Yeah, man.
He likes all.
Pause the hell out of that comment.
Yeah, you might
out of that comment. You can stop talking too, Batch. You can stop talking
man.
too.
Come on, man. I need to see you get off on a hyphy movement real quick since you're a San Fran guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm a YouTube the steps.
Yeah.
No, but you know it's funny. Like, it's looking back, I think the only matchup that I would have liked to see was Denver, because I really enjoyed watching them as a team. But the way Dallas has kind of stepped up in the second half, I'm like, I'm in for it, man. I'm all in for it. Like, and I think this is probably because right now, when you look at the league right now, it's like we're looking at not just parity, but like I think Kawhi kind of set this in motion about 5 years ago when the Raptors won, is when he left and he went to join Paul George with the Clippers. Mm-hmm. He started setting off a trend of duos, and I know there's been like KD for the most part has been trying to like spearhead the big three still, but with between the way the league is going stylistically and like the way that luxury cap is set up now, where it just destroys your cap if you try to have a big three, as Phoenix is learning, right? Like when you look at it that way, it's like this is probably the best matchup in the last 5 years in terms of duos. Because you think about it, like 20, like in terms of star power duos, right? Like it's the strongest it's been, right? Because in the bubble chip was AD and LeBron, but it was Jimmy Butler and Bam on the other side, which, you know, those guys are all-stars and are superstars. You know, 2021, it's Giannis, well, just basically Giannis, you know, and Middleton or Drew, whoever you want to take. And then, who was it? Phoenix. So was it like CP3, who's not a star at that point and not a superstar at that point, and Booker. Yeah. You know, 2022, you got the Warriors, which is that whole ensemble versus, I guess, Brown and Tatum. So that was probably a good one. And then last year, Jokic and Murray and, again, Butler and Bam was, again, really good, especially Butler in the playoffs, but not, you know what I'm saying, not superstar level. So in terms of like Luka and Kyrie versus Tatum and Brown, now we got something, like in terms of like the last 5 years, right? So I think where the league is trending, it's like, in terms of duos, I think right now it's like, okay, this is the best example of where this is probably going to be going forward unless they change up the cap again, right? And with that said, like for you guys, like which duo do you trust more? I know this might sound like a funny question, but not really though. But
I honestly trust Dallas's duo more, right? But the thing about it is, it's I'm not, but that doesn't mean I'm balancing that on who potentially can win, because I think I think the supporting cast of Boston is stronger than Dallas's overall, right? But I do think that, like, stylistically, I don't like Boston's style of basketball. That's just me. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe a guy like Batch, who was an all-time scorer, would love it over there because he just could do what he got to do, right? Get in his bag and boop, 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 boop. A guy like me, I wouldn't like that.
I wouldn't though. I wouldn't though. And it's crazy because if we're talking about duos, I probably wouldn't even mention Jalen or I wouldn't mention Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum. I probably would mention Derek White and Jrue Holiday. Because with those two, dogs on the defensive end, and then they'll give you the offensive game. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, because they, like you're saying, man, the offense runs through Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So now, if you get Derrick Jones matched up with Jaylen Brown, I'm pretty sure he's going to see him first because Jaylen Brown's been going off his playoffs. Mm-hmm. Now Tatum's got to prove himself because he hasn't really been, that guy that we've seen in the regular season when it comes playoff time. So now Jason Tatum's going to have to come out and be that guy. So mm-hmm. I don't even think it's going to be really those two that's going to be doing the damage. I mean, they'll do their damage, but I think with the X factors in terms of who else is going to help those guys out, it's going to be Derek White and Jrue Holiday. Now on the Dallas side of things, yeah, if Luka and Kyrie don't get it together, it can't just be one. It's got to be both of them tandem. They don't have a chance.
Don't they? I was reading something the other day. Maybe we see you would know this. Doesn't both Luka and Kyrie average their points alone on average is like something crazy, 60% of Dallas's points.
Yeah, something high.
Something crazy. It's crazy, right? So you shut down one of them. Like the whole game plan would be like, all right, let Luka go off for 50. Who cares? He's gonna do that anyway. Let's stop everybody else.
Sorry, that was a series where PJ Washington just rose from the dead. Cavs was like, yo, who's this cat? We just going off. So I feel like they more so featured him because you had Lou Dort on Luka, and then Kyrie, or was he on Kyrie? It was one of the two.
He was on Luka most of the time.
He was on Luka.
Okay,
he was pissing Luka off.
Right, and then you have Kyrie. I think they're mixing him up with Jalen Williams. Is it Jalen Williams, right? I'm messing the kid's name up. It's Jalen Williams. The other shooter.
Yeah, Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams.
Yeah, so they had him on Kyrie. So PJ Washington had to go ahead and do the damage, and he was answering to that call. So if you have PJ Washington do the same thing again, I don't think that's enough. Especially with PJ Washington has to spend time with Porzingis. If not Porzingis, he's gonna spend time with Al Horford coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm. Horford been balling.
Right. He's gonna be exhausted. He's gonna get work. So
I don't know about Porzingis though. Like he's been out for a minute, and I don't know, man.
But he shoots though. He stretches though. That's the problem. And he's a 7-footer that can shit. He can hit the jumper.
No, I think offensively he's a monster, right? Like he helps. That's a good, cool 18-20 just off rip. But I think the physicality of Dallas's bigs is going to be a problem for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is a fact because you know what? I'll actually save that thought because I have an X factor question, so I'm gonna save that thought. I'm gonna put a pin in my comment for that. But keep going, Randall. Let me not cut you off. Keep going.
No. I mean that's basically how I was gonna end off with is that at the end of the day, the good thing about this series is that I think they're two different styles, and I want to see which style is better. Because I'll tell you this, Boston could easily win this series, or they can easily lose this series, right? Talent-wise, I would say, if Porzingis is there, definitely going to be a good game to watch, at least game one if he plays. But I do think, he hasn't played for what? For the whole series, right? The whole playoffs, right?
The whole playoffs, yeah.
Come on,
pretty much.
You can't just pop into the
finals.
And we're talking playoffs.
Like the finals.
Not practice. Not regular season. Playoffs.
the finals. You stepping into the finals.
The finals. My bad. The finals.
The finals. And in terms of duo, it's on paper, right? You would think Boston would be the one you would trust more because, thinking about it, since Tatum and Brown has gotten there, they've gone through their playoff wars. They've been to at least the conference finals or the finals 5 of the last 7 years since 2018, right? They've done that. They're the most, after this summer, they'll be the most expensive duo in NBA history. You know what I'm saying? They've been through playoff wars. Like even Jaylen Brown, his rookie year in 2017, they made it to the conference finals. They got waxed by Cleveland, but the fact is he's gotten playoff chops, right?
But the East is so shitsy.
I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying they've been through it. At least they've been through it. And as much as you want to trust that, I'm with you. Like you, and remember, we do the Eastern Conference preseason review every year, right? Like every single year. And you remember, if you remember in that conversation, I kept saying, I'm not sure about Boston. I know they got all these moves. I know they got Porzingis, they got Holiday, they got all this stuff, but I'm like, I need to see them. I got to the point with them, especially after last year. I'm like, especially the way they went down 3-0 against the Heat, like that was just crazy. The year before, I think Tatum set the record for the most turnovers from a player in the playoffs. He had like 100 turnovers, like in 20 games or whatever it was. Like he just was not playing great, right? So I got to a point now where I'm like, I need to see it now. And I've been saying that all year. I'm like, I need to see them hoist. Like, I'll be a believer when I see them hoisting the trophy, right? So it's like, as much as you should trust this duo because they've been through it, and it's like history says they've gone through these things where it's like they should be there. You know what I mean? And yet I'm not. I'm like 50-50. Whereas the interesting thing with Luka and Kyrie, right? And I think I remember telling you this batch. It might have been you, but I remember I watched because I didn't see a ton of their games early, but after the trade, I watched them play Houston, right? And I think Kyrie, and I remember this game, like, I'll tell you why. I remember this game, like instinctively, because Kyrie had about 48 or 50 points or something. He went crazy. He was killing everybody, right? I remember specifically he was killing Dylan Brooks, right? But he had like a 20-something point quarter, whatever it was. But the thing that stuck out with me the most watching that game was every time they threw it to Luka, and Luka was balling too in that game. Luka was like, take it. Like every time Kyrie went to give it to me, he was like, no, go, you got it. And I was like, oh shoot. I'm like, they might have figured this out. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, because that was the whole thing with Luka, right? Like it's a Luka-centric pass it to will offense kind of thing, right? Where everything is going through him. And for the first time, he's literally trusting another player. And I mean, it's Kyrie, like greatness. No, right. But I'm like, even with Brunson and those guys balling before, it was still as soon as Luka got on the court, everything's through him. But this time was the first time I seen Luka do this, where he was like, no, you take it. You take the last shot. You take the biggest, you make the biggest plays. And that's when I was like, this is interesting going to the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to win, of course. Like I said, before I say Denver I thought it was going to win it all again. But that's the thing where I was like, oh, shoot, okay. I'm like, this team might be interesting. And then watching them defensively and looking at their size, and now I'm like, all right, they might be something, right? And that's the thing too. Like individually, like Luka, even though this is probably this is the furthest he's gone. He's been at least in the conference finals or the finals 2 of the last 3 years. And I'm just looking at his playoff stats here. He's averaging 31, 9, and 8 in the playoffs. It's basically around like his regular season stats, but like he's been balling, and Kyrie's pedigree already when it comes to the playoffs. He's already got a chip. You know what I mean? Like he hit the most important shot in the Cavs history, to help LeBron bring a title back to Cleveland. You know what I mean? And then like 2 months later, he was basically leading Team USA and winning a gold medal. But he was taking most of the clutch shots, right? So that's where you're like, okay, this guy's like, he's been there, he's been through it. And even throughout everything that's happened with him, it's like he was still hooping. But now the thing is, they're both hooping at the same time. They're both trusting each other to run the offense, take the biggest shots. They're the two best clutch players on the court, which is huge. And then on top of that, the coaching is like Jason Kidd is a person who's not just in the fact that he's having his best season as a coach right now, his best stretch of coaching right now. But on top of that, he's literally been where those guys has been in terms of a franchise player, a superstar in the league, that kind of pressure, playoff pressure, you know what I mean? So he can relate to them as a player as well as, and he's one of the most smartest players like the league has ever seen too. So it's all of that is like they're coming in a way where it's like it's interesting because one thing about the playoffs is you guys know too. It's like you want to come in, and this is all sports. You want to come in rolling at the right time. You know what I mean? And then you also want to be tested. And those guys, even though like they just beat Minnesota in 5, but they're tested. Whereas Boston, I feel like Boston is not even the fact that the East was weak. Everybody was hurt. So it was like they kind of rolled through the East easy, right? I think they only lost 2 games, right?
Yeah.
Like Butler was gone in Miami, missed the whole series. That was going to be like, I'm not saying they wouldn't have won that series, but if that was going to have been a drag out fight with Butler being there, he's gone. Mitchell missed like half the series, as well as I think did Jarrett Allen even play that whole series?
I think he did.
I think what he get game 1 and 2?
Maybe game 1 or something. Yeah. But he basically both those guys missed like half the series, and then Halliburton misses game 3 and 4. Right,
yeah,
so it's like
Indiana series. That Indiana series, man, they should have had at least 3 games.
Indiana, right?
Yeah, they should have had at least 3 games.
That's what I mean. Like they got swept, but they easily could have been up 3-1, which is not a good indictment on Boston.
Yeah.
Right. So that to me is where I'm like, they haven't really been tested. This is their first real test now going in, and you don't want your test being in the finals because it's a different levels of pressure. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know, like Tatum and Brown is like historically is their turn. You know what I mean? It's really tough to say because both guys, like on the other end too, like in terms of Luka and Kyrie, they're both really smart. They're cerebral. You know what I mean? And like they've just been through it, man. And they've, like Luka hasn't. This is the furthest Luka's gone. But like even when he was playing overseas, there was playing in major games, and he was leading all the time, Team Slovakia leading all the time, 30, 40 point, like always pressure games, right? So this is where I'm kind of like, I don't know who to trust in terms of the duo. It should be Tatum and Brown just because they've been together the longest, but I think we're all in unison. We're all kind of like, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But they've never proven themselves. They've choked in every situation that they had to come through clutch, right? Like really clutch.
Right.
I think Giroux and Derek White, and that's why I said for the beginning, those two, they're going to be the main reasons that they win. I don't think it's going to be solely on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. It's going to be on those two. Pretty much with the experience, they're going to be like, you know what, listen, guys, you got to go about this differently. Maybe, and even with Joe Mazzulla, maybe he's matured as a coach in terms of how to handle this. You already seen Golden State, how they turned it around. It was by committee with Golden State. I feel like Steph didn't really take over until the latter part of the finals year. But you had Jordan Poole.
Wait, remember he wasn't the head coach. I knew he was an assistant, but he wasn't the head coach at that time, right?
No, right, absolutely. But now with just being there, right, and then seeing how that team played in that type of scenario, right? They got the experience. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White. Has he been to the finals before?
Derek White? I feel like he has.
I'm thinking, yeah, but he's been part of a program where the.
Let me check. Let me check. With the Spurs.
He was with the Spurs. I don't think
the Spurs made the finals.
No, they didn't make the finals when he was there.
No.
I'm gonna check. Keep talking. I'm gonna check literally right now as you're going. Keep going.
But the type of play and knowledge and experience that they have, I think is going to be crucial for them. Now, when we're talking about, Dallas, Kyrie's pretty much your only guy. So Kyrie technically has to lead that whole team, and then obviously with Jason Kidd and where he's been at and been able to and play with the Dallas Mavericks and won with the Dallas Mavericks, he needs to now show those guys, all right, this is the real deal now. There's no room for error. And Kyrie would know firsthand how that works. Any errors will have that series turn, and it won't be for the better. So they have to be on top of their game. And the same thing, right back to what I said initially, Luka and Kyrie are not going off, they're going to have some problems, some major problems. So,
but here's the thing: do you see them not going off though?
No, I think they'll have a game going. They'll have again. It comes down to consistency, right? They're gonna go off eventually. Like, in a let's say a 7-game series, they're gonna have 1 or 2 games they go off. Can they consistently do it? Well, like I feel like either Tatum's on or Brown is off. Brown is on, Tatum's off. Where Luka, those two, they kind of they find a way to make it work.
Yeah,
at least in the playoffs.
At the same time. Yeah.
Right. That's one. Two is, I think the X factor we even talked about is the Celtics, again, they live and die with that style of play that I'm not a fan of. And a lot of the style of play is just chucking. And if they catch fire, it's 3s against 2s.
Yeah.
Like Dallas is a good squad. They could put points on the board, but I don't think they put points on the board like Boston does. And like Boston could just take boom, 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 boom. They can hit 3 threes in a row, which extends the lead to 9 points, right? Mm-hmm. Where, you don't want to start trading 3s for 2s, right?
Right.
But does that play in the favor of Boston, given that Dallas is now more dependent on those 2 bigs sitting in the paint waiting for whoever beats Luka or Kyrie at the perimeter?
But that's the thing. That's the thing, Batch. It could, or it could hurt you bad, because if you're missing, you got them guys, now they're gone with that size. They got the advantage with rebounding. Yeah. It's again, they live and die with the style of play, and it depends on what Boston shows up, what type of team. Like you said, it could be Tatum, the hero, hitting all types of 3s from all over the court with Brown supporting, and then like the other guys coming, White too in the corner, boom, boom, boom. Porzingis back, boom, boom, boom. It could be a nightmare, or it could just be like, all right, we're just gonna contest shots, box out, we're going right, and then late in the shot clock, you can. I do think that Drew, right?
Yeah.
Drew, I think Drew is going to be the X factor, like you said, on the defensive end, because you could shut down Luka, who's shutting down Kyrie now.
But see, that's where Derek White comes in at least. If we're talking about
you think Derek White can shut down Kyrie?
Sorry, he ain't shutting them down.
Slow him down.
But at least slow him down. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie's going to be Kyrie. Luka's going to be Luka. But you got Giroux. We'll put the pressure on him. Mm-hmm. Luka don't like pressure.
No.
You know what I'm saying? We see that Luka, he loves to talk to the refs a lot. So if Giroux gets in his head enough to where
did we say a lot?
A lot. He gets him off his game, and now Kyrie has to basically go against Derek White. Then you got somebody. But now if Kyrie goes ahead and really puts the work on Derek White, that's where the question comes in, well, who's the next man up? I can't think of anyone else unless you're going to start throwing in other people like wild cards like O'Shea Brissett or something like that. Because Pritchard ain't going to do nothing. Hauser ain't going to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're not putting Horford on him. So, right, like you mentioned, man, the bench, I don't know, man. The bench is I feel Boston's bench is a little bit more suspect than Dallas. I think Dallas has more pieces to get it done if there were too many complications with that starting 5, which is impossible. But if it came to that where they're having a bad shooting night, which we've already seen in the Minnesota series with Kyrie, if that were to be the case, now you have somebody coming from Dallas where you're doing a pick and roll, high screen and roll, slide, slip into the basket, throwing lobs to Derek Lively, who has not missed a field goal in the last series. I would be worried about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Porzingis ain't keeping up with that.
No, Boston's defense is just offense.
Right.
So like you said, it's all about who's going to be more efficient. If Boston ends up being efficient on offense, it's going to be a good series. But I don't know if this means anything, and I can't remember the first game. I remember watching it actually, where Dallas played Boston. Boston handled them pretty good. Second game they played. I don't know if all the pieces were in play.
I was about to say, when were these games played? Was both games before or after the trade deadline? Yeah, one was. I can't remember.
I can't remember. I think the second one, but either way, it doesn't matter because I didn't think Boston, like, I remember when Washington came over, he didn't. I was like, damn, man. I thought he was gonna do his thing with Dallas. He was struggling in the at the end of the regular season. It wasn't looking like a good like marriage, right? Even
it took a little while.
Gofford, all those pieces, they were like, it's kind of like they don't strike fear in me, right? It only started like again, playoff basketball is different. And it started to kind of pick it up. The bench tightens, right? The lineups kind of are now you're only playing guys that play well with each other, not taking those chances as you would unless guys are in foul trouble. So things kind of are more specific game plan for. You're seeing a team not just once a night. You're seeing a team like, up to maybe 7 times, right? In one,
so you can really plan.
Series. So you can plan it all out, right? Exactly. So this is where I think matchups are crucial, right? And it's a grind.
Yeah, because even Hardaway's not even playing as much as he used to, which is like, wow. Yeah.
I don't know about him, man. He's been questionable with me from a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's not too efficient, man. Like
well, that's the problem, right? Like he hasn't. I don't think defensively he's the greatest, and he's not been efficient. So it's like at this stage right now in this run, it's like unless he picks up his efficiency or picks up his energy levels on defense, like it's not going to help them at this point.
Right.
Like I think that's like the beauty of like those guys the way they play now. Like they figured out the formula. Like in real time on the fly, they figured it out. You know what I mean? Like those guys are. I was saying those guys. I'm just talking Kyrie and Luka. Like those guys are wizards with the ball kind of thing. So, 1-on-1, they're pretty much going to get the shots that they want. Or even if in a series like this series where they may struggle at the beginning, like at some point they're too good offensive. They're going to hit their level of comfortability. We'll see what happens, of course, in the series. But once you get in the paint, and to me, this is where I wanted to bring this up on the pod so bad, man. But like, to me, this is where I'm like, as much as analytics comes into play, as much as talk about taking all these threes, and Boston, of course, is this year's example of all those threes and analytics and stuff. Like, the mid-range game it's never gone away. And what I mean by that is I don't mean like regular season. Yeah, we understand how everybody shoots threes. But if you look at forget playoff history, look at the last 5 years since the Raptors won. The team that's basically controlled the paint, and I don't mean just rebounds. I mean breaking down the defense and being able to consistently get into the paint. You know what I mean? Like just score, whether it's just to break it down and kick out. Like the teams that have done that the most have won. Like, or they've been great in the mid range. Like for the whole myth of like Golden State being the greatest shooters, the underrated thing that people don't talk about is their mid range game was just as lethal, right? Like KD and Thompson especially especially those 2-3 years that they were together. Those two were like top 2 and 3 in mid range shots. Mid-range percentage and mid-range points. Like nobody even looks at it. They just look at the threes. Kawhi, when they wanted the Raptors, what was he doing? Destroying mid-range. You know what I mean? Like even last year, like Murray, like what was he doing? He was going everywhere. Mid-range, just killing everybody, right? And that's what Dallas does really well. Like they're not afraid to at least break down the defense and get into the paint. And that's where the alley-oops and the loops and the lobs and stuff starts coming down. You know what I mean? So it just affects everything, right? Yeah. And to me, that's where I'm kind of like you. Like I said, styles make fights, and Randall, trust me, I'm 1,000% with you when you're like, you don't know about Dallas with the style. They can not Dallas, Boston with their styles. Like they can come and win this series in 5, or they might lose in 6. You know what I mean? Because just based on if they're rolling or not, and they don't control the paint the same way that Dallas does.
And they can, though. See, that's the thing.
I know.
They can. Like Tatum could go at will at anybody. Guys like a 6'10" guard. Like he never goes to the rim hard. He either goes does his dumb lane bailout turnaround jump shot.
Stylistics, man.
and then you got like Brown, who's all world athletic, like just could take once, like just go, right? He doesn't need anything. He doesn't need a bag. He can't even go left. Everyone in the league knows it.
He's better at it this year. He's much better at it this year.
Okay, he can dribble. He could take 3 dribbles left, but he can't finish left. So he's dribbling left, and then he's finishing right.
That don't make no sense.
That don't make no sense. Why do you think they bail out?
Yeah. But that's what I said with Tatum is stylistics, man. It's like he's more concerned about being pretty. You know what I mean? Like his game is a beautiful game when you watch it with like aesthetically, it's a beautiful game to watch. But right now, it's not about aesthetics. It's just about winning. So if you gotta get out the mud right now, you gotta be able to do that. And how you do that is you keep attacking the paint. You gotta attack it. You're gonna get the threes. Like the threes are gonna come. That's a style, but you gotta attack. You gotta attack that painted area, man. Like the game has changed and all this stuff. They always say that. Then the finals comes and they're like the higher the rounds go, then you start seeing the superstars. Yep, and mid range.
Why do you think Denver's dominated so much? Because they got that inside out game. They got that. They have the prototypical lineup to grind you down, right? They have the prototypical lineup to grind you down. Jokic at the 5. You know, you got what? And people even forget about what's his name at the 4?
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon. Like that ball he can ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got that guy who's got he can go off on any given day, right? And he'll pound it inside, and you know what I mean? Like he can do it. And you like what does Boston have that you're fearing in the interior? Nothing. Even Porzingis, I like Porzingis, other than the fact he's just Glass Joe. I like him, but he like again, it's his style fits Boston, right? It's chucking threes every now and then. He'll catch you on a long closeout and drive and do that lame ass long dunk, right? Like the stretch dunk, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm 7'3" and I'm just gonna jump over you.
Yeah,
dunk, but
looks like
I'm not really getting off the floor, but yeah. But you know what? Why do you? I'm gonna just pivot for a quick second though. Why do you guys feel like everybody's backpedaling and apologizing to Kyrie? Who wants to take that?
Oh, man, I could take it.
Go ahead, Bass.
I mean, listen, all of the off-court, I guess we can call them shenanigans if you want to call it that. Or no, I call them antics. Sometimes Kyrie, I feel that he matured a lot this year, but he matured on his own per se because the majority of the years he was with LeBron. Or first it was with him, just him himself, but he didn't have the stardom that he had in the beginning. And then he had LeBron. And so now he was in the shadows of LeBron, but he wanted to basically be his own person. He's an alpha. So he tried to take.
I was totally fine with when it happened, by the way, because the rumor is not to cut you off, but the rumor was like he found out that they were trying to trade him, and he was like, "Okay, well, I'm gone then. I'm not staying to this." Yeah, he's like, I'm not staying to this LeBron timetable because remember at the time everybody knew it was an open secret that he was basically leaving the next year after they lost to Golden State.
Right.
Yeah.
So and then you're stuck with a LeBron centric team that's not designed to fit around you, and you're going to get the blame. So I understood. I wasn't mad that he did it. As you said, you're an alpha. Sorry. Keep going.
No, so just saying, like, I think from there, he basically had to find his own, not lane, but he had to find his own identity in terms of being a leader.
Yep.
So he ended up going to Boston. It didn't work out. He ended up going to Brooklyn. It didn't work out. Then he got traded to Dallas. But now he has his idol in Jason Kidd, and now he probably has more respect in terms of, not saying he didn't have no respect for the coaches that he was playing for from before, but now he's listening to Jason Kidd, and Jason Kidd's telling him, listen, first off, this ain't your team. So what you basically have been trying to you've been trying to remove yourself from this whole time, you're right back in that same situation, right? So I think now he's back to being that same guy that we've been seeing from years prior. But at the same time, he has all this, let's call it baggage, that's following him, and everybody wants to hold it to him against him. So he automatically becomes a villain. So, and like he's been saying already, he's like, yo, everyone's making me out to be a villain. At the end of the day, listen, whatever happens off the court, it happened. But at the same time, he's still a killer. You can't deny him as a basketball player.
No.
So now everybody's now saying, "Dang, Kyrie's just nasty," because we're not really watching a lot of Kyrie. We're watching Luka and Luka only.
Mm-hmm.
Now Kyrie comes in, and you're like, "Yeah, Kyrie, man, you're staying in your lane, but this is the show of Luka.
Mm-hmm.
Give him the ball and let him work." But now Luka's basically saying, "No. Listen, I got someone to help me out. This is going to be a long journey. We're trying to get to the finals. We're trying to win.
This is 1 and 1A now,
right? I need you to take over now. Give me a breather. You take over. I'm gonna give you a 5-minute stretch. Just go nuts. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, we got to switch up the defensive moves. Yo, start paying attention to Kyrie. Cool. My turn now. Now you have a problem. You can't figure it out. So now everyone's looking at like, hey man, Kyrie, man, that guy's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We really can't stop this guy.
And at the end of games now you're like, we don't know who's going to
touch the rock,
and that's awesome.
Right.
But see, both of you guys said it. People don't understand. People don't realize when Kyrie came in the league. Yeah, he was still young. He left as a freshman, right? He was a freshman. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
He was a young man coming in the league. He grew in front of our eyes. Like, there's a lot of pressure on these guys that we don't understand.
I know.
You know,
we do. But
yeah, we do. All of us do to a certain extent because we all played right at a certain level, and we understand what it's like to be in the pressure cooker. But imagine that times whatever it is when you make it to the level we all want to make it to be professionals, right? And when you're at that level, and the lights are on you, and you're a guy at that level, you're almost like on the verge of a superstar, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of things we got to see a lot of what Kyrie was about during the last, like, you know what I mean? I'd say like that COVID period, like right before COVID and right after. He was struggling with that whole LeBron thing. He got out of it. Boston really mentally fucked him up. Then he goes over to Brooklyn in a situation he wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't work out. And then, boom, what happened? COVID.
Yep.
Right? And he was already struggling. We've seen all the foolishness, the earth's flat, all this crap, conspiracy theories and all that. Then, his mental health wasn't there. Let's be honest. It was almost Kanye-ish.
Kanye-ish. Oh, man.
If I'm lying, I'm flying. If I'm flying, I'm dying, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was a little kind of, I don't know.
I look at it as somebody who was, I think in his case, I look at it as somebody who was trying to, you can see he was trying to find himself. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. Not Kanye-ish way. I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't totally say Kanye-ish, because to me it's funny to watch it happen now in terms of everybody backpedaling and apologizing and all that stuff to me, because and especially with him not taking the shot, like whether you took it or not, I don't care. It's your decision. You know what I mean? But the only thing I kind of gave him a bly on at the time, at least, even with your is Kanye's rants and what have you, right? Like the only thing I would give him a bly on was like, regarding the fact that it was such an unprecedented time, you know what I mean? People were mad that he didn't do the conventional thing and, with some of his decisions, in terms of like taking the shot or whatever. It's like, that was like an unprecedented. No, I know.
Any controversial thing, they put a mic in his face and he would just say something. You're like,
but that was towards the end. That was towards the end, and I agree. Some of the stuff you're like, come on, Kyrie, like you don't have to answer the question, just say no comment. You know what I mean? But I think the fact that he didn't get a chance to play it, and that wasn't an NBA thing, that was a New York State thing, right? In terms of him not being able to play, and it was such a weird thing too, because he wasn't able to play in New York, but other teams who didn't, from players who didn't take the shot, can still come and play in New York. Remember one of the games, like he wasn't able to play in Brooklyn, but he went and sat courtside?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like so all that was happening, you know what I mean? So it was just a weird was just a weird period. It was just a weird time. It was an unprecedented time, but like people was mad that he took the unconventional stance of, again, with all that pressure of not being able to, not taking the shot and stuff, right? So,
but the key thing though, see, it also is that, we look at Kyrie and Batch, you said it before. There's no doubt. If you were to ask 90% of the NBA players right now who has the craziest bag in the league, maybe 100. Everybody, 99.9 are going to say Kyrie. If you say who would you not want to be an island on one-on-one? They're going to say Kyrie.
Yeah.
He's going to make you look foolish. Everybody knows that he is a hooper baller. The one thing during that time, that I saw as a fan is that, and I think he even said it, is that everyone knew he was good at basketball, not good, great at basketball, but I don't know if he loved the basketball.
At that point, maybe not.
At that point, there was a phase, and it showed on the court, right? It showed on the court. It showed in Brooklyn. It showed a little bit in Boston too. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. It just there was times that you're like, this guy's out here just to be out here, right? And there's times that let's be honest, again, my son is a Celtics fan, and I would be like, let's say I'm going to go get him a ticket to watch Celtics game. Kyrie's not playing. Just didn't feel like it, right? Those are things to me that's like mentally he just wasn't there, man.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Like I'm not gonna knock him on that. I think now is a point, like we said, he's kind of evolved, he's matured, and the thing about it, he accepted his role. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. He's now in a situation that he can look at somebody. I don't know what is. I don't follow Dallas, so I can't speak on it. But I think he has I don't think he has a brothership or like a brotherhood with Luka, but I think there's that common respect, vice versa, where real recognize real. And Kyrie's like, look, finally, like you said, and Batch, I can sit back now and be 1B, because I know there's times I got to be 1A when it's important. Yeah. And I know this. If there's any time I want the ball in anyone's hands, it's in one of their hands, which is the most dangerous thing. When it's clutch time, I'm giving it to either or. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I think Kyrie right now is it's evolving. What was beautiful to me is when they won this last series and you see them both together and you can see it like, yeah, we're here. Like we're here.
And it's funny to speak to your point in terms of everybody saying like, yo, they don't want to be on an island with Kyrie. I felt like even throughout the whole midst of the controversy and stuff that was going on, especially when he was in Brooklyn during the COVID period, it was like, there was still like, if you ask most of the players, there was still like a universal love for him. You know what I mean? Like it was like you heard people like even in the midst of like, especially with like the detractors and the media people like going off on him, like Stephen A. Oh my God, like that. I mean, he said it after a while that it was personal. I'm like, well, no shit, you can see it. You know what I mean? Like this, some of the takes I mean, I don't know how often you guys watch First Take, but like they'll be talking about baseball. And he'll find a way to bring it back to Kyrie Irving. You're like, yo, what? I'm like, what's happening here? Like, is he like the HR of the NBA? Like, what the hell's happening here? Like, he's missing too much work. He needs to work. I'm like, yo, that's an HR problem. That's not an ESPN problem. Like, like what's going on here? So it's just crazy to see like somebody like him specifically went so hard, man, and it's like. It's just crazy. Like to me, like watching the narrative of like he's matured. I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying that didn't happen because I think, yeah, like I said, he definitely did some missteps during this period of him. I think trying to find himself, but like, like would he still? My question is, would he still be this mature and growing up had they lost in the first round to Kawhi and with the Clippers? Would we still be praising his maturity? Or if they lost to Shea, they lost to SGA in the second round, would he still be this mature person? You know what I mean? Or is it something that's designed to winning and like you don't want to make things awkward? Because I'm not saying just ESPN, but in general, you're gonna have to like talk to him for the next couple of weeks. You know what I mean? You don't want those things to be awkward. You know what I mean? At the same time too, right?
I think he would have matured. I think it's just the way the media sets it up though. They're gonna put the spotlight on him real quick and let's go ahead and make him out to be the same person that he's been looking like the last few years. He didn't do nothing. He got paired up with Luka. Luka is great, and he still couldn't do nothing with him. And so it's just going to turn into the point where he's going to get annoyed. And they're going to start bringing up all these little points. It's like, man. And that's when you start getting these – he's got to learn how to respond to we're going to call it negative media. So basically it's, we're going to make you look like an idiot, but this is not solely on me. I'm who I am. I know what I can do. It didn't work out. We got these new young players here. They were just a better team, and they beat us. So I feel like you may have had a little Yeezy comment at that point. You know what I'm saying? Where Kyrie probably would have responded like, man, listen, you know what I just found out? I was talking to an alien last night. So you hear some wild stuff, right? Like, man, this guy tripping. What are you talking about now, man? Like, but really at the end of the day, it's like, he's like, man, I don't really want to talk to you guys. So I'm just going to throw you guys off and I'm going to start answering you all kind of crazy ways. And you guys going to talk about me some more. And the next year I'm going to come in and I'm going to start turning heads again. And then you're going to be like, dang, Kyrie, man, he's still cold. But it's all right, though. Come playoff time, he's going to flop. That's going to be the narrative again.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it.
So let's see what happens. I hope they win because we can shut
I love
down.
it. Yeah, I love what's happening. Like even throughout the playoffs, I love it. But it's just funny watching like everybody now doing this apology tour. You know what I mean for him, and it's like wow. It's like you figure this will more happen when you win the title. You know what I mean? Like we even get there, and everybody's like, look, man, hey, we was wrong. We was wrong for what we said. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is about all this too is like, even though I said earlier about the whole duo aspect of like a twosome and not a big three and all of that stuff now, like if Kyrie doesn't sprain his ankle, 3 years ago, right, against Milwaukee, and if KD doesn't step on, on the 3-point line, we could be having a whole different historical conversation right now. Like a completely different conversation right now. You know what I mean? Not like we could be at a point where everybody's still trying to do a big three. Like so it's funny how those little circumstances literally changed the outlook of history. You know what I mean? Like had that happened, does New York give them like if they won the title now, does the state of New York give Brooklyn an exception from the play? You know what I mean? Like all of that comes into play, right? Like to me as well. But I love to see what's happening with him right now because like we're just appreciating him for his skill set now. You know what I mean?
And his shoes.
Yeah.
Those were dope. Yeah. I like that whole native spin on it. It was kind of I do too. I thought they were dope. For hooper to hoop in? Like those look crazy. Look like moccasins.
Yeah. Killing you. And he still maintained the same. Killing you with the moccasins, man. And he still maintained the logo too. It's fire. But real quick, who like now we get into the X factors. Who's the X factors of the series? I'll start with you, Batch.
Excuse me. Yeah. Derek White. Derek White for Boston. Dallas. I'm gonna say PJ Washington. Yeah, PJ Washington.
Okay. I think for me it depends on how you feel about the residual effects of the moves that Brad Stevens and Nico Harrison made, right? Because as we explained earlier, like those moves before the season started and during the trade deadline is basically why we're kind of here right now, right? And to me, the X factors, this is just my thing, my opinion, of course, but like the X factors to me, or at least one of them, I think one of the most important ones is Porzingis, as well as PJ Washington and Gafford, because Porzingis, like Porzingos, yeah, let's call him Porzingos until he wins. Porzingos, right? But the issue isn't with him being 7'3", right? Like it's like after not playing most of the playoffs and like now being on the biggest stage, is he willing to now use all his height and all his size against what Dallas is offering, like between like Gafford and Lively and all of these guys, right? Because to me, honestly, it's bigger than almost any storyline in this because those guys are so active in the paint, right? It's not just the lobs, it's the rebounds, it's the presence, it's attacking the glass. Like, is Porzingis ready to be about that life for the next 2 weeks, right? Like, to me, that's the $1 million question because I think, Horford will be in the trenches with that too, but that's asking a lot for Horford for 7 games to deal with a 7-foot lively, like Gafford. Those guys are active, man. Like Derrick Jones is active. Like now you got Kleber coming back in the paint. You know what I mean? Like to come and crash and stuff. Like Washington's gonna come and crash. Like Luka, like you know what I mean? Like you gotta be about that life, especially for him being the center of the team. You can't just be out there shooting threes and just, you know what I mean? Like he's gonna clog up the paint in some ways, yes, but guys they don't stop coming, man. They don't stop coming. So to me, that's it's like a major X factor in the series. Like I respect the White thing and Drew Holiday, of course, like those guys permitting, but like to me, the Porzingis and the two bigs on Dallas or the three bigs on Dallas, that's to me is like the major factor in this series, or one of the major factors. But go ahead, right?
No, I think you're right. It's the Porzingis factor. I mean, if Porzingis plays, it lightens up the load for Boston, because I'll tell you right now, Gatford and Lively, they're vertical rim runners, right? And they play like they play like they're on pogo sticks. Like, you know what I mean? Like who's gonna stop them? Right. If they're out there, and I'm with you, Batch. I think for me, the one of the main guys, yes, those two are vital, but one of the main guys that you got to watch for is PJ Washington. I think that third factor is going to be crucial for them, right? Because I don't think they match up well at the 4, right? Boston. So I think PJ, like for me, that's Porzingis is for them, for Boston. And PJ Washington, and definitely. And then I got, obviously, like I do agree, everything you said on the guards with White and Drew. I think Drew's going to be, like both those guys, I shouldn't even say one is going to be better than the other, because those guys are, I think they're both second team all conference, right? Or all.
Were they second team?
Yeah, one of them was maybe, I don't know if I know they both were all NBA on the defensive team. I don't know if one was first. Anyway, they both were.
I think they might have been on second.
Yeah. Either way, that skill set, that nomination is going to be needed against. I call it. I say what it is. Dallas is the best backcourt in the NBA. Dallas is the best. Tell me a backcourt's better than those two.
Right now?
I can't do it right now off the spot, but
yeah, they might be the best backcourt in the last 5 years.
What about Steph and Clay?
Ooh, you might have to do another podcast for this one.
I know.
If they
let's not use recency bias now.
Did Steph and Clay win the chip in 5 years?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
But I mean, mind you, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the same Clay.
No,
it wasn't the same Clay at the same time.
Post Clay injury, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
Sorry, I was looking this up. You're right. White and Holiday were both in the second team.
Yeah. So
yeah, they're great defensively.
Yeah, I think right now it's if they win, they solidify themselves as one of the top backcourts in the last 3 years. Let's say. They like if they win it, they definitely are the best backcourt, like 100%. Like if they win it, you can't take that from them. You know what I mean? You absolutely can't. So I guess to wrap this up, man, who you got? Boston in 6.
Boston in 6.
I think it's going 7. I think I got Dallas on 7, man.
I got Boston in 6, but I'll tell you what, it's not going to be an easy 6. It's going to be like a Indy 6. Like, you know how we all were like, Indy should at least won 2 games, at least minimum 3. Or
they could have won. They could have been up 3-1.
They could have been up 3-1. I think it's going to be the same thing. Boston's going to find a way. I think their funky offense is going to throw everybody off. I think they're going to score in batches. They'll be down big at times. That looks like a facade, and then they'll come back and make it a game. And I think they win. I think they bring back a chip to the beam.
And what's crazy too is like we're underselling that performance against the Pacers, because Halliburton missed those last 2 games, and they barely won those 2 games in Indy. Yeah, like that was not a great look. And shout out to Andrew Nembhard, man. He just raises the price of the Nembhard stock went up.
No, but you gotta shout out McConnell too, though, man.
McConnell,
oh, for sure, 100%.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Not at all. Not at all. The stocks for both of them went up. And Indiana's going to be something next year too, because remember, like Benny Math, man, he's chilling on the benches. I mean, he was injured, but you know what I'm saying? Like he's coming back next year too.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's that?
Benny Matherman.
Oh, man.
Benny Math, man, that's a problem, right? So to me, I'm like that. We're underselling. Like that was not a great performance, man. You know what I mean? And like all I'll say is this: like this is Boston's best chance to win the title. You know what I mean? They got the journey. They got the playoff scars. They surrounded their duo with the right set of talent. Excuse me. You know what I mean? They made all the right moves. They got the home court advantage, number 1 seed. They won 60-something games. Everything is set up for them. They got the chip on the shoulder from flaming out in the playoffs last year. Everything's there. Historically, teams who win like 64 plus games or whatever, and they make it to the finals, they always win. Why am I not still confident?
Because they've choked all the time. That duo, they've choked. And if they lose this, what does Boston do now?
You gotta pick one or the other, man.
Well, yeah.
That's what everybody says. Everybody says that. Like they got to split them up. I never really believed that though. I never believed that you have to split them up. But at this stage, like you might have to really if they can't, like I said, this is their best chance. If they can't do it historically, I'm a big, historical nut for NBA history. So I'm looking at all that and I'm still gonna say Dallas in 6.
6, right.
I got no dog in the fight, so I'm not gonna argue.
Yeah, I'm rooting for a great. I'm rooting for a great series, man. I don't care either way. You know what I mean? I want to pick Boston. Honestly, I don't want to say push because I got to choose somebody. So I'm just going to go on a limb and say Dallas in 6. But I'm kind of like what you said earlier in the beginning, Randall. It's either Boston could win this series in 5 or 6, or they'll lose in 6. It's either one of the two. There's no in between. There's no in between. So I'm gonna say Dallas, but this is me just riding off the streak of them, having been tested and you know what I mean? Like they're coming in on a roll. You know what I mean? As opposed to Boston who hasn't been tested. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see. I mean, this is gonna be very interesting. And just so you guys know too, just let you guys know as well. Starting from game 2, I believe, I'm going to be doing some live stream pods like the day after the game, not right after the post game, but the day after the game. So, y'all are welcome to hop on one of those at least. You know what I mean? During the series and see where it takes us. There'll be some very candid conversations, I'm sure, being that it'll be live.
You saying live like right after the game or live during the game?
No, I'm gonna say the next day. I'm gonna say the next day. There might be some like right after the post game. See who's up and is ready to talk at 11:30. But if not, it'll be the next day. We just go at it. You know what I mean? So
my old ass might be asleep.
But we'll figure it out. I'm gonna be doing those on some live streams during the finals. So. But thank you, brothers, for hopping on the pod, man, and sharing your thoughts.
I appreciate you for having me.
Thank you for checking out the latest edition of the Ave Podcast. Special shout-outs to Randall Walter and Anthony Batchelor for hopping on the podcast and discussing this NBA Finals preview. As mentioned before, we're going to be doing some live streams of some of the games from the NBA Finals starting on Monday to review the first 2 games, and then it will be the day after the game. So, and there might be some where, depending on what happens and what time the game's at, then we might do it right after the game. So we'll be definitely doing that starting on Monday. There's still a lot of pods I got to drop. But yeah, so we'll be taking care of that on Monday. I hope this finals is a good one. I think it will be a good one, actually. I'm really looking forward to this, actually. It's, they say styles make fights, and these teams have 2 different styles, and it's going to be interesting to see which one plays out the best. it's going to be interesting. You got to lock into it because the first 2 games is really going to determine to me who's going to win it, I think. Because, whoever's going to be able to get their style off the longest is going to be able to persevere at the end of the day. It's going to be interesting to break this down and watch it. But as always, man, you can follow the website at southshoreave.com to check out the entire catalog of podcast shows. Once again, that is southshoreave.com. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Hit them 5 stars. Hit them 5 stars, please, 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 please. Hit them 5 stars. Thank you. And leave comments where you can, man. All right? Appreciate y'all for tuning in. This is Kyle C. And you just tuned into the latest episode of the Ave Podcast on South Shore Ave Radio. All right, until the next one. Peace. We out of here.